Yo, what's good, Joe? Shaman the Bigga P, and here share my thoughts from all the fights that happened from yesterday. First of all, like I said, I am a big fan of all this boxing that's being shown lately. Not just NBC or CBS or on Spike or on BT or just on True TV, and then besides, of course, HBO and Showtime. I just like it now that pretty much there's been like weekends where just been some notable fight, either Friday or Saturday. Just been fight, 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 and it's been, to me, it's just been great. I like being able to turn the TV on the weekend or whatever when I'm just chilling and like there's fights for me to watch. Um, it's a big contrast from 2014, I'll tell you that. So yeah, pretty much I'm going to focus on pretty much the three main fights from last weekend, but first before that, I'll mention, of course, the PBC card from yesterday. Of course, Earl Spence. Pretty much everyone's seen him as now the heir to the Mayweather throne. At least within that camp, he was supposed to face Roberto Garcia, but unfortunately, Garcia had another personal issue where he reportedly was 20 pounds over his contracted weight, which of course rightfully so. You got to scrap the fight. And it's a shame that Garcia's getting all these chances because he's been pretty much, the guy was pretty much fighting in obscurity originally since he had that since he had that last loss to Margarito also 5 years ago. And you think, and like I said, you want him to actually become some sort of player in it because he does have he does have the style to at least to make an interesting fight for a contender or an actual fighter. First it was the Shawn Porter fight where he was having issues, and then this fight. So of course he ended up facing Phil LaGreco, whose only notable fight was losing to Shawn Porter back when he was still in probably I think it was either his last or second to last fight at 154 a couple years ago, and he only fought like once. So it was last minute notice. So it was pretty much pretty much everyone could tell that that fight wasn't going to last too long, and it wasn't. Pretty much it was just another showcase for Errol to show off his offensive skills. And he was letting them hands go, especially by the body work. Nothing more, nothing you need to do to get someone out of there, a last minute replacement out of than go to his body. Um, and he let him have it to the body. It was spectacular. And it ended, of course, with Lugano pretty much being pinned on the ropes, just taking punishment. The referee is like, stop the fight. Although I would have waited until LaGreco went down at least. But I could see you got air on the side of caution sometimes because LaGreco wasn't throwing anything of substance back. So can't fault him for that. But Spence looked extremely well. And like I said, I would not be surprised if sometime next year that he is challenging for a belt of some sort. Whether it's going to be at welterweight or he's going to be at 154, it remains to be seen. If I was him, I'd go 154 because like I said, that division is getting to the point where soon it'll be wide open for him to pick up a belt. Whereas 147 is just a little bit. With the fact pretty much with Floyd still reportedly holding 3 of the belts at welterweight, including the WBO belt, which he supposedly was going to actually give that up. It remains to be seen. There's Kell Brook, but like I said, it remains to see on how the top picture for 147 and 154 opens up. So, which brings us, of course, to the main event: Adrien Broner versus Shawn Porter. Now, this fight was a surprise to me because I didn't expect a fight like this to actually come about. So, with Broner, pretty much everyone sees ever since he took the beating from Maidana back in 2013. He's been trying to regain the footing that he once had. He once had as a fighter. And he's had 3 fights since then. None of them are. Taylor fight was watchable, but you can see that he had flaws. Whereas both Molina fights were not very watchable or very good to either. He got the job done, but it wasn't entertaining at all. And Broner I mean, unlike most young fighters that successfully managed to cross over to the casuals. Um, which not a lot of today's young fighters actually do. So from there, he has an advantage where people actually do want to see him and see his antics and all that stuff that he likes, that he does. And pretty much that's why it gets him the attention they get. And then you have Shawn Porter. Of course, I'm not a fan of Broner. I've never been one. And I think Broner, it's a situation where it was just the first time I saw him fight was against Ponce, and Ponce is one of my favorite fighters, and it didn't help that I think Broner got a gift in that fight because I thought Ponce won that, so off that I never gave him a shot. And then of course he had his weight issues at 130 and 135, which turned me off to him because I don't like undisciplined fighters, very undisciplined fighters, and then you'd think that he would act right. He would have done some act right in his life after the McDonough fight. But like I said, it was just the same old antics, same old flaws, same old blowing up in weight, all that other stuff. And then you have Shawn Porter, who's the opposite, who's for the most part is a professional. He's very professional in his demeanor and everything like that. I also don't like him. Mostly because I watch plenty of Shawn Porter's 154 fights, and I found his fights very hard to watch. So imagine my surprise when, of course, later on he would go pick up the title from Devin Alexander of all people, and then afterwards he puts on a Mike Tyson-esque type of performance, where he knocks Paulie out. So you're thinking like, okay, maybe he turned himself around, and then of course he loses. Then he gets pretty much outboxed by Kell Brook and loses his belt. And then after that, you saw some of the things that I saw from Broner. I hated about his fighting. Eric Bonet, Bonet was actually catching him and timing him, and was it not for that leg injury, it would have gotten a little bit more interesting in the later rounds. So it brings us now to this fight. Now, Porter had a chance to either be a good clash of styles or a bad one. This fight was a bad clash of styles for a lot of different reasons. Porter fought his regular fight. He was pretty much going to bully the guy. And the issue with this fight too, another thing that I didn't like, I want to mention, there was a catch weight of 144 in this fight. Broner wanted to drain the guy, and for both fighters who actually held the weight title and won them with no catch weight, this was ridiculous that a catch weight had to be enforced. For Porter to actually make 144 and 44. And I saw the fight where he actually did have to make, where he actually went down that low, and he didn't look all that great. So pretty much it was definitely an attempt to drain him out of catch weight for no apparent reason. But Porter, being professional, he actually did make it. And surprisingly so did Broner, and I thought Broner would be, because Broner did not look like he was actually weighed less than Porter. So yeah. The fight was a horrific style of clashes, mostly because Broner did a couple of things in this fight that he didn't do a couple of things in the fight. His jab was non-existent. Any type of aggression that Porter showed, he was nullified. But Broner was holding immediately. And he was doing it so much that you were weeks with the ref, and you were telling him, like, you gotta take the point. Take the goddamn point. Like, he was holding, and then really because of that, because Broner was pretty much too gun shy and clinching a lot. He just let Porter out bully him. It was like after one round after another, just being bullied. And of course, Porter's jab of all things was actually working for him. Like, he actually, it's good. There was some good stiff jabbing by him. And you're just wondering, like, what kind of shit plan is going on? What's Mike Stafford telling Broner? Like, you should. There's a lot of movement, but it's like you gotta stand your ground. You gotta hurt the guy. And surprisingly, that's what happened in the final round. Broner was down. I talk about down, he needed a knockout to win. And then when he dropped Porter for the first time in the opening round, I was like, okay. Where was this? You clearly have the power to actually hurt him. Where was this early in the fight? but it was too little, too late. I mean, there are people who surprised that that the scores are like one was like 110, 10, 108, and that was a fine score. I mean, I think I had like 117, 109, something like that. But yeah, that's how it was virtually one sided because Porter once again used his style, as awkward and as ugly as it is, to bully Broner into another loss. Um, and it was disappointing because, like I said, you want Broner. I mean, Broner has access to things that most fighters would dream of. Like he's one of Floyd's closest people. Like we have the big brother little brother relationship. He's in his camp. He has resources upon resources. He can but he just doesn't want to be great. He's too undisciplined, and pretty much PBC is meant to be a vehicle to actually try to create some stars. As we are slowly, as we're slowly getting into the post Floyd Manny Pacquiao era, because that era is coming to an end. Um, and try to build stars. And Broner is pretty much high in that list of and he's pretty much now he's had 2 PBC fights where he's just flat out failed. Um, So it's just gonna be interesting to see because he needs a shakeup. He needs a shakeup in his camp, trainer, something in his personal life. Because it's sad because Broner has skills. I mean, I don't like Broner, and I think he's highly disciplined, but he has skill out of this world. He does have skill, but he's not a prodigy. He's not like one of those people that is like you can't that is just come naturally to him. He has to work, and he's not doing that to be the best fighter he could possibly be. And if it's one thing and someone like Broner who has physical advantages other than maybe strength should. He can box, but he doesn't have a good fight brain, and he let Porter, who was pretty much was kept in check by Brook, and then also by Julio Diaz, because pretty much they both of us had Porter resetting constantly, and especially with Diaz. Diaz wasn't even in his prime division. He's chinning, and then you have Broner who couldn't do the same thing, and it's like it's frustrating to watch him. Watch a fighter like that with all this type of with all this type of talent and potential, and it's just going to waste. Um, as for Porter, Porter did what he had to do. I was hoping that because that pretty much the only thing is it's gonna. I wouldn't say it's gonna delay the inevitable. Porter probably deserves a big fight. Whether maybe Thurman after Thurman's fight next month, or God forbid he actually gets the fight with Floyd Mayweather, which would be a struggle to watch on many aspects. You know, they'd be better off putting that fight on Showtime rather than just on pay-per-view. But I can't deny that Porter does not deserve another opportunity. For a big fight. He did what he had to do. He had a game plan. It was awkward and wasn't pretty, but it was effective. And he bullied another talented fighter than him out of into a win for him. So kudos to him. And then also that night too. Then there was also 2 other cards. There was the Andre Ward Paul Smith card. The undercard wasn't that. The undercard fight wasn't that great because I was watching it on my Fios app on my tablet next to me as I was watching the PBC card. But the Ward fight was interesting. Pretty much. You could tell that Ward stayed in the gym constantly because he didn't look like he missed a beat. Pretty much he handed Paul Smith a complete boxing lesson, and Smith, unfortunately, pretty much cost himself probably a percentage of his purse by coming in 4 pounds over the contract rate because it was a catch weight. It was 172, and Paul Smith has. He fights at 168. Pretty much he's known for his 168 performances, and he shows up. He weighed in at 168. So basically, which made it essentially a cruiserweight fight. And of course, Ward continued, and pretty much it was just it was just boxing 101. It was just boxing. Most people would call it, hey, it was boring, but if you like technical boxing, I mean, he did what he had to do. Granted, Paul Smith is not the best opponent, but when you're out of the ring for 2 years, you can't just go jump into a really high caliber type of fighter. Um, that's dangerous. But Ward pretty much showed him the jabbing, controlling the distance, everything, and then once he had him in trouble, I mean, he busted his nose and his mouth. Blood, it was a complete performance, and it stopped him, and he got him out of there as he should. So kudos to Ward for coming back, and although I have to say, watching this fight on BET voting was kind of like it was kind of mind blowing to me because I think before they had Nipsey Hussle rapper performing, and I'm seeing a rap concert and after a fight. Like this is something else. But the crowd seemed to be into it. They were rocking it. Like I mean the crowd was nice, and Rock Nation they haven't had the type of footing needed to really make an impact. Mostly because I think they don't understand how much work goes into actually promoting boxers. But this card seemed to be in the right direction. This card should have probably been the card to launch what they've been doing. So hopefully Rock Nation takes the feedback from this and they learn from this, and then they try to apply it to making better cards and put better cards and better fights on it. I mean, but I can't complain about the card. I mean, it was like I said, it was okay, and having Sway and Kevin Kelly, the announcing team, it was hit or miss. But I didn't really take away from the fights all that much. So, like I said, props to Ward, and Smith probably needs a couple soft touches right now because I know between this and the Abe defeats, although he did come close to actually beating Abe, yeah, the guy needs a couple soft touches to get himself back on one column and probably to get himself back into shape. As for Ward, I mean, it's interesting whether he's got to go at 168 or he's going to stay at 175 and compete there. He certainly, there's certainly fights in either, especially at 175 for him. So remains to be seen. Now, my favorite fight of the night, Son and Dom versus David Lemieux. This was for the vacated IBF middleweight title. Previously, it was held by Jermaine Taylor, who managed to beat Sam Sullivan sometime last year. But Jermaine Taylor's issues, I don't really want to talk about them, deemed them unfit to actually hold the title, never mind being able to fight. So the fight was vacated. The one thing about this fight is it wasn't on a major channel. It was on Fox Sports 2, which luckily for me, I have it. Files has it, but it didn't. But I've had an HD box for some years now, so I expect to watch a lot of my programming in HD. And Fox Sport 2, unfortunately, is only standard def on Files system. Which I'm not. I have to admit, I was a snob about it a little bit. I was like, I'd rather just wait. But boxing is boxing, so I was like, what? Let me just turn to it. It's all good. And I'm glad I did. It was. I mean, it was a decent card. The undercard, I didn't catch the Cuban fighter in the opener, but I saw part of the Jean Belmonte's fight, which looks. I think the bottom half of the fight, which looked pretty good. I mean, it was competitive at least. Belmonte's was a dog in the fight. But in Dom Lemieux was a great fight. It was an absolutely great fight. And it almost mirrored in Dom's fight with Quillen. Lemieux sent him down 4 times, and and there were not like flashes. I mean, there were some straight out bombs. Like Lemieux came out like bombing him. And Dom, I don't know how he found the equilibrium to actually get up on his feet and actually continue the fight after those 4 knockdowns. But he did that, and in the rounds where he wasn't knocked out, he was outboxing. So. And it just never pretty much movement, and I was expecting Lemieux to actually tire on, and he surprised me. or at least get caught, because Lemieux's, like I said, chin is a little suspect to me. And it was just one hell of a slugfest. It was just, either Lemieux would cut him on the ropes and just blast it away, or Dom would just use movement, jabbing, and right hands, jabbing, overhand rights. Um, and it was just it was an outstanding fight. I called my father this morning, and this was the fight. He missed the other fights except this one. He was raving about it too. Just Dom's performance and heart just to actually get up and actually still try to win this fight was remarkable, like he did in the Quillen fight. And then the scores reflected, even with 4 knockdowns, like the fight wasn't like all the way wide. It wasn't like he lost by like a basketball game type of score. Um, Without the knockdowns, it would have been a draw on one card, I believe, and then maybe 2 points on and maybe like a 115-113 type of deal for Lemieux. It would have been a majority decision. But props to that fight, and props to Lemieux for actually finally becoming champion. And most likely now, I know they're gonna try and make the Lemieux Triple G fight, which HBO now needs to get off the ass, and they need to make sure that they air that in HD. I don't want to see that. I mean, there's no. I mean, that is a HBO caliber fight. HBO really messed up by not actually airing this fight the way it did. But and I guess I don't know, it's budgets or who knows. Um, but yeah, hats off to Dom, who once again showed incredible heart. And whoever his promoter is, Oscar needs to sign this guy to a promotional contract. And above all, and the biggest crime of this fight though was the pay. I think they both got like 5,100, and reportedly there were third parties that were hitting both of them off of money to actually make so they may make more. So I don't know. That's not my business. Obviously, I don't know how much they're gonna make, but the fact that a fight like this and they only got $51,000, that's a crying shame, and that should never be for a middleweight title fight with two B-level type of fighters. So yeah, and Dom should definitely get another big fight. He deserves it. I mean, he's the type of fighter that 160 needs. He deserves an incredible heart, great performance. He didn't stop winning. Get him a fight, a tune-up, and then stick him on another middleweight champion. Or hell, they could run it back if the Triple G Lemieux fight doesn't materialize. So yep, those are my thoughts about those fights. And I know there's a PBC card today, later in the afternoon. So can't wait for that. So depending on what the card is, I may or may talk. I may do another video and talk about it afterwards. If not, then I believe it's Bradley Vargas next week. Nah, it's boxing. What can I say? So yep. Till next time. Peace.